And the godfather to Princess Lilibet was accused of sex assault. Slightest hint of an accusation means she throws people under the bus. By the way, including her own father.
Just when we thought the drama couldn't get any messier, everything has exploded. Tyler Perry, once the Sussexes' closest ally, may now become their biggest problem. The man who literally handed over his mansion keys and a private jet to protect Harry and Meghan, he's suddenly gone from godfather to ghost. And why? Because of one lawsuit, one missing clause, and one pile of receipts that could tear their brand apart. Backstory and build-up. Let's go back to the beginning of this friendship. In early 2020, Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal life, facing intense media pressure and zero institutional support. It was Tyler Perry who stepped in without hesitation. He offered his Beverly Hills estate, full-time security, and the privacy they so desperately needed. There was no contract, no conditions, just a safe space during a chaotic time. For weeks, they lived quietly under his roof, shielded from cameras and headlines. It wasn't just generosity, it was a pivotal turning point in their journey. Harry called Perry a lifesaver. Meghan went a step further and gave him the honor of being their daughter Lilibet's godfather, a deeply meaningful role, especially in royal tradition. Footage of the christening was captured for their documentary. Perry smiled beside them. The media praised the bond. It was seen as one of the most heartfelt moments in their post-royal life. For a while, this was more than just a friendship. It was a public alliance. Perry was hailed as a loyal supporter, someone who believed in their new life outside the palace. But now, just a few years later, that bond appears to have vanished, erased from public memory. His photos? Gone. His name? Missing. His godfather status? No longer mentioned. And that silence? It's louder than any statement. Lawsuit fallout and silent cleanup. So what caused this sudden vanishing act? The spark was a massive legal filing, an eye-opening $260 million lawsuit naming Tyler Perry. The court documents paint a troubling picture, accusing him of using his influence in ways that could impact careers. A former actor on one of his shows came forward with claims that sent shockwaves through the industry, describing an environment that allegedly involved intimidation and power struggles behind closed doors. And just like that, the person once praised as Meghan's most trusted ally became a headline risk. The timing was impossible to ignore. Almost immediately after the lawsuit was made public, fans noticed subtle but swift changes. Mentions of Perry began disappearing from Meghan's online presence. A christening photo that once celebrated his role in their family quietly vanished from public view. News outlets picked up on the cleanup. Old interviews and press releases that once praised Perry's generosity were nowhere to be found. Even social media reels that featured him were either taken down or mysteriously edited. It wasn't just an update, it was a total reset. No press statement, no defense, no acknowledgement. Observers say the move felt surgical, and it raised even more questions than it answered. Why distance herself so quickly? Why delete so thoroughly? And what would Perry think after offering so much? The silence is what makes this story so explosive, because if Perry feels wronged, and if he's keeping records, this could turn into something much bigger than a public relations problem. Perry's knowledge and the NDA twist. Here's where things take a sharp turn. Unlike other public fallouts, this isn't just about a disagreement or a broken friendship. Tyler Perry wasn't just a helpful friend, he was deeply involved in the Sussexes' private life during a critical moment. He knows more than most, and according to reports, he didn't just offer support, he documented it. Insiders say Perry kept everything from voice messages and emails to early business plans, personal discussions, and behind-the-scenes moments that never made it into their Netflix project. That alone would be enough to cause tension, but there's more. Before Harry and Meghan ever stepped onto his private jet or stayed at his estate, Perry reportedly had all house guests sign a confidentiality agreement. Buried within that agreement is one line that could change everything. It states that if either party publicly distances themselves from the other in a way that could affect reputation, the non-breaching side has the right to speak out. In simpler terms, if Meghan tries to cut ties publicly, Perry may be allowed to respond on record and tell his side of the story. And based on the chatter inside Hollywood, that moment might be coming sooner than anyone expected. Sources close to Perry suggest that if he feels cornered, He's ready to talk, not in whispers, but in a full sit-down interview. With proof. That happens, it won't just be a headline, it'll be a turning point. Because when someone who knows your private world chooses to go public, you can't control the story anymore. Jam launch, distraction, and public reaction. With headlines starting to spiral, Meghan's team moved fast to shift the narrative. Just days after the lawsuit made waves, her lifestyle brand launched a fresh campaign, highlighting new seasonal products like apricot jam and orange blossom honey. The posts were bright, cheerful, and carefully curated with beachy selfies and sunshine captions. But while the aesthetic was on point, the timing raised eyebrows. Instead of drawing attention away from the legal drama, it added fuel to the conversation. Viewers flooded the comments not with praise for the product, but with one question repeated again and again: what happened to Tyler Perry? Some asked why his name had vanished, others joked about a limited edition crisis flavor. The tone had shifted, and not in Meghan's favor. What was meant to be a polished rollout turned into a public reminder of what had just been erased. Even more telling, the once friendly posts and videos that had featured Perry's involvement, gone without a trace. Captions that once called him a guardian angel were suddenly replaced with vague messaging about gratitude and growth. Behind the scenes, her team was reportedly issuing guidance to collaborators, avoiding any mention of Perry in media appearances, and postponing a charity campaign they had previously planned together. It was clear, this wasn't just a rebrand, this was a full-scale reset. But the internet remembered Harry's struggle and palace reactions. While Meghan was working on damage control, Harry found himself caught in the middle of a very personal dilemma. According to insiders, he was visibly shaken. This wasn't just about public image, this was about a man who had offered them a home when no one else did. A man Harry had once called family. Sources say Harry was pacing the floors in their Montecito home, torn between standing by his wife and staying loyal to the friend who had sheltered them during one of the hardest periods of their life. He reportedly reached out to longtime friends, sharing frustration and confusion. He kept repeating the same line, "Tyler saved us. How can we just move on like it never happened?" But Meghan had already made her move. The digital cleanse was complete. The christening mentions were gone, the baby documents were updated, and Harry knew, once the public step was taken, there was no turning back. Back in the UK, palace aides were quietly taking note. Some sources say royal staff were passing around headlines over breakfast with more than a little satisfaction. They remembered 2020, when Harry had been warned about becoming too close with Hollywood elites. At the time, those warnings were dismissed. Now, the fallout was unfolding in real time, and royal observers couldn't help but say, "We told you so." Even senior insiders close to Prince William reportedly viewed the situation as a defining moment. Proof, they say, that Harry's choices outside the royal fold continue to carry serious consequences. But inside the Sussex household, the stakes were more than just public image. Harry was facing a decision that could affect both his family and the last meaningful friendship he had left in Hollywood. And looming behind it all was one detail no one could ignore. Tyler Perry had the receipts. Hollywood backs away and projects paused. As Perry's name hit headlines, Hollywood quietly hit pause. A luxury sponsor froze its deal. A streaming platform placed the Sussexes' new pitch under review. And a long-rumored interview sequel canceled without fanfare. Officially, it was scheduling conflicts, but insiders say the real reason was risk. No brand wanted to get caught in the middle of this unraveling. Even Meghan's lifestyle partners began re-evaluating collaborations. Publicists were told to shift focus. Meanwhile, her image-first strategy was showing cracks, and as the silence grew louder, Perry's team began hinting he's not staying quiet forever. Pattern repeats, and public catches on. This isn't the first time a close friendship has quietly vanished. Jessica Mulroney, Oprah, Serena, and now Perry. Each time, the pattern is familiar: praise, partnership, then silence. Social media picked up on it fast. Side-by-side clips showed Meghan once calling Perry family, followed by his sudden erasure. Late-night hosts even joined in, nicknaming her the Duchess of Delete. Behind the scenes, Perry's team is reportedly taking meetings for an exclusive tell-all. If it happens, it won't just change public perception. It could reshape the entire Megazit narrative, because this time, the person with the inside story isn't a stranger. It's the man who was there for everything. The tell-all threat and NDA clause. What makes this situation even more explosive is what's hidden in the paperwork. Before Harry and Meghan ever stayed in Perry's home, they reportedly signed a confidentiality agreement. And inside that document, a clause that could change everything. If either party publicly distances themselves in a way that affects reputation, the other is allowed to speak on record. That means if Meghan continues to erase Perry, he could legally respond. With details, with proof, with everything he witnessed behind closed doors. Producers are already circling. And if Perry decides to speak, it won't be subtle, it'll be prime time, headline shaking, and backed by receipts. Final straw, and the bigger picture. As Meghan's circle gets smaller, the palace stands to gain. Insiders say Prince William's team sees this as proof their warnings were right. Hollywood may have offered fame, but it's also left behind a trail of broken alliances. And Harry, he's caught between a friend who protected him and a partner who controls the narrative. Now, Perry holds the match that could light the fuse. Emails, voice notes, private chats. He's got it all. The big question isn't if he'll speak, it's when. Because when every bridge behind you is burning and the cameras are rolling, there's only one thing left to ask: what happens when the truth finally goes public? What do you think? Is Meghan protecting her brand or hiding something bigger? And where does this leave Harry? Stuck between loyalty and survival? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next twist, because this story is far from over.